Okay, let me keep this real casual. Because, I mean, this is not for no class. This is just me talking about the show, which I enjoyed. Okay. So, what I will say about this artist, I don't know how to pronounce this artist's name. Naudline Pierre? Maybe it's. Let me see how to pronounce her name. Naudline. Hello?
Hey,
Hey.
they want to say you made some fries in the oven. That was good. What you do to them? Or how did you make them?
I think I put the oven on like 425 and had them in there for like maybe 18 minutes. I followed the instructions on the bag, so I don't know which ones y'all making.
Oh, that's what it said on the instructions.
Yeah, I think so. It was like either 425 or 450. It was a pretty high temperature in the oven, and then for like 18 minutes, I think.
I got what you
And
said.
the chicken fries are in the kitchen freezer, but they behind some stuff, I think.
Oh, that's the ones that were.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay, bye. Okay. Yeah, Naudline Pierre. It's some type of. This is given like a Frenchy name, like a Frenchie. Okay, I'll put her name in it. But as I went to view this show, I saw a few people. I posted on the Instagram. People who live in Dallas, obviously. I saw her work on their stories, and I was like, "Who is this? This work is very colorful. It has some energy to it." I was like, "Who is this? Why is this at the DMA? I need to go see this." So recently, maybe a couple weeks ago, I finally saw it in person, and I wasn't disappointed. What I really appreciated about this artist's work is the use of color. I feel like there's a good like degree of contrast. We have some very bright neon colors that are really I like bright colors in work. I guess I could say specific colors. So the ones that she's using is kind of similar to what I would choose in my painting palette. So I really did connect with that. I really liked how she blended like spirituality or themes of religion with, like, you see these figures with feathered wings attached to them. We see figures with like hooves attached to them. We see glowing light coming from these beings. So it really has like themes of maybe religion or, like I said, spirituality. And what I appreciated was the merge of religion with the figures or the image of like people who will exist today. So like these people like got baby hairs. It looked like somebody had a bust down, like middle part wig on. Like it's like very present day. Very, you gonna see these people walking down the street, you gonna see these people on Twitter, but they're existing in this spiritual sense of otherworldliness. So I really like that. And as I was looking at the show, I was like, "What is kind of feel kind of cool?" I was like, "Oh, we have these spiritual beings, but they're like somebody down the street. Like they're not too far removed from a common day person," which I really liked. I'm saying really so much, but I mean, I did like this show. So, and I think Beyonce, they said that Beyonce owned two of these works from this artist that was in this show. I think I heard somebody say that. They can't tell you which ones because of the fear of like somebody like taking that work because they know like somebody with a lot of money has it. So they don't be telling you which ones it is. But to be honest, the ones that I think that she has, or what I would guess, as you walked in, it had two paintings on either side of the entrance, and they were called Guardian. What I liked about those pieces, the reason I said that she probably got those pieces is because it said that she has a pair, and those make so much sense to be like bought together. Um, they're really tall, so as you look at them, you have to look up, and even the figures in the work, they're looking down They're looking down towards the entrance, but they're looking down essentially. It almost has like a glamour to them because in one, there's like, it looks like some type of scales, some type of, it like they wearing a cool jacket. And then it has like scales, like almost like a fur type of thing like going on. And if it didn't have the imagery around the figure, which is like these floating heads with scales attached to them where they're kind of like slithering through the air, or this other head with like a wings attached to it, you would think that, oh, this is just a cool mother effer. You ain't gonna think that this might be a spiritual being that's a guardian of someone. So I think that was really, I don't know, if anything, it's just really cool. But I did appreciate the approach because the figure is overall very dark in tone, with painted with grays, and it doesn't necessarily give ooh upbeat happy right when you look at it. It gives like ooh, like it's giving a little bit of drama. It's a little bit of drama, and also the little like sparks that is on the painting, that is like at different like places. Like you just have these like sparks. It's like bling, like shiny, rich, like it's sparkly. So that's why I say it's giving kind of, that's how it has some glamour aspects to me, like glamour, a little bit of luxury, but then the face kind of is looking down, like it's a little serious. It's a tad bit serious, which I mean, if you a guardian, that's just how it's about to be. And this artist is, I think it said Brooklyn, New York. So, baby, you give me another reason to go to New York. Y'all make it work like this? Y'all make it work like this? Hey, I might have to. I was already planning to make a trip, but you said speed it up. You said speed it up. I felt that. The other Guardian, I really want to touch on, cause the other Guardian, it's giving film, but again, it's kind of like almost like a coat, but the coat is not just it's not like an actual coat. It looks like a coat, but it actually is more like into like wings, but they're wrapping around a figure like a jacket. And as you can see, the legs, it kind of goes down into like some hooves. But the figure got like some braids that's going back and like blowing in the wind with more of the sparkle, like little tidbits going on. So it's glamour, and these like figures are so cool, like stylistically, like they just, like you see them walking on, it's like, oh, who was that? They got money, they cool, but they got some other stuff going on. They're not of this world. Will you look at that? Okay. So another painting that I really liked was, I don't know what this one is called. And I mean, not taking pictures of the labels. I'll just have to describe it. I don't know. So the one where it has this falling figure. I like this painting because I really like the energy of it. So we had this figure falling down, like head first. But even though it feels like they're falling down, the figure has no type of worry to it. It's almost like not a fall, but like what would be something more gentle than a fall? Like a float, maybe. Like they are going down, so it's not like they're just gliding through the air, but they're floating down. I will say it looked like this, it might got some speed behind it, because we got like fire, like flame implications coming at different spaces, and maybe it's supposed to be the fallen angel, I don't know. But it has, even though I would say it's fallen, it has a very graceful feel to it, because the yellow figure is kind of has his hand like a dove or a white bird is like landing on it, and they're interacting in a very way that's not panicked. It's not panicked at all. So that's why I say it feels graceful. It feels soft. It doesn't feel like a panicking type of thing. And you also have other figures rounding out and kind of coming to, I don't know if I would say the figure's rescue, but to me there is an element of a type of support. Like they not all just waiting for the figure to fall and like holding their arms up to catch it, but instead their multiple figures are using their wings um, to kind of guide the figure down or to soften the descent basically. I thought it was interesting how these figures are depicted. Um, Again, it has very graceful like curving lines, almost like a it could be like a dance or like almost like a sensual way the legs are placed. The toes are pointed and the bodies are doing a nice curve. I really like this one figure that, well, I can't even tell. Like, you see the legs and you see what I would assume are the arms coming from this figure. And as you look, like, near the arm of the falling, like, being, you see the face peek through. What I liked about that figure is because it's not so solid, I would say, necessarily. It The brush strokes are repeating, but they also vary in like density. So it's creating the form without having to necessarily draw or outline it out. It's creating a form with these like little brush strokes um, that create some shape. Uh, and I don't know with how some of the even the figure that's in the back with um, that the wings are kind of coming out and the soft again brush strokes, maybe even a dry brush, and it's kind of like a very not rough application, but you could see the texture of the brush. I feel like I'm repeating myself so much. um so even like the background is coming through the figures, and I feel like that helps you. I don't want to keep saying appreciate because I'm using that so much, but it helps you see all of the different aspects of the painting more, I don't want to say obviously, but more clearly. Because you can easily just disregard the background, even though it's a nice, like, blend. It's like, oh, nice. That's cool. But then when it comes through the figures, and instead of being in the background, it becomes a little bit of midground and foreground because it's not completely painted over. It has a little bit of space, which makes some dimension in a nice way. I feel like with this one again, I like the use of these colors, the textures, the middle beam, which is yellow and like orangey red. The paint application is pretty, I would say, pretty smooth for the most part. It's a soft blending, like it's a soft application of paint. uh we get a little bit of variation in the yellows in some spaces, which just help us to form a little bit of softness around a figure. It's not just flatly placed on the picture plane. But then we have some variation in the other figures place. Every figure isn't handled exactly the same. So although they're following this curving line, they also give us a little bit of variety, which how they are rendered. I feel like the one that's red and her wing comes wrapping around, the forehead is really like, is giving some detail, and it has like little curls of hair that are flying away that are really uh, pristine, like really sharp and defined. But then right next to her very defined hair kind of blowing in the wind, we have the brushy quality of the figure's legs right next to her, which show us the color of the background, but it implies form with how the brush strokes are placed. Again, I feel like the artist really does maybe like to play with the different ways of rendering, which add to interest when you're looking at something. When everything is painted the same flatness or the same brushy quality, sometimes it can get lost because when you're looking at everything and it's the same, like, okay, maybe I know what's going on here. Everything's kind of like there's nothing to keep my interest. But when you have things that are different, even slightly, your brain likes to look for the similarities within them, but it also likes to see, okay, where does the similarity stop? where are they present and where can I find more? But then where do they stop? What's different about this? And it kind of keeps our mind going back and forth. It's a little bit more fun to our brains to find some differences. I'm looking through the images I have, trying to see like what was my favorite ones. Because I did enjoy each of them, but some I had a little bit more comments on. Is my... Now my lip gloss dripping off my lip. This is glue because I was making a collage earlier. It kind of hurts to take that off. So, this other painting. I like this painting because I was like coming up with all kind of like narrative qualities when looking at this piece. I was just thinking, okay, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? Like, I kind of want to know more. Well, I kind of got to the conclusion because we kind of have repeating figures throughout these pieces. Like, we have repeating, if you look at the figures placed, they repeat. At least this one particular one really does repeat. And it's kind of like this main figure. This little yellow figure with barely any hair. We have that figure right there, glowing in yellow and reddish quality. It looked like that's the same figure here, but in red. Because like the hair being that same style, and the body is very similar. Well, the same. The body is basically the same. The hair is the same. And then we have again here. So again, that yellow being with the orange hair is repeated. So as I was like putting those little clips together, I was like, oh, is this telling a story? What's going on? As I was looking at this one, I was getting like heavy religious themes. Maybe not heavy, but I was getting like religious themes because of the prominent wings. We have these humanoid figures with wings, or humanoid figures, and they have some other type of, it's otherworldly. It's just like they not of Texas. They ain't of America. They ain't of any continent I know of on Earth. Like, who you know that look like this naturally? Who you know that look like this naturally? And I mean, it looks like it's coming out the face and hair and head. So it's not like this a little costume. This is coming out of these people's like bodies. Like, these are wings that they grew themselves. So as I was looking at this, I was like, okay, what's going on? I was like, not to say I was kind of getting Jesus, but I was getting Jesus in the way of like a Jesus birth. Like, you have the three kings or the blah 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 that come in to gift Jesus. He in his like little barn, and everybody is surrounding. That's kind of why I was getting that vibe, because everybody is surrounding this figure in kind of like a fetal position, like a little baby, and everybody is looking down on this figure with a type of care. And what I was like trying to get to the conclusion with, okay, what's going on here? I was like, everybody's looking down on this figure with care. The figure is like in fetal position, like a baby, again, being held and glowing, essentially. And as I was looking at this, I was like, well, if I look at this figure being kind of yellow, it looks like it's glowing. But as I look at all the other figures, I wouldn't necessarily say that the light coming from this figure is impacting them. It is, but there is also light, it feels like, emitting from these figures, especially like the one in the back has a glow around the shoulders. The figure with the buzz down middle part, like, is that a lace front? I don't know. Like with that one, like the face looked like glow was coming from the cheeks. Her makeup is actually kind of like done up too. That's what I'm saying. Like, this artist is taking this religious imagery, but placing it within like Instagram, like aesthetic, like people like you about to see, like they placing in a trend of right now. So it's not like stuff was existing like back in the day when everybody was all however we imagined them. It's like, no, this is like a reoccurring story. This is something that's happening presently, like right now. Like, if these are your guardian angels, they might look like you. Like, they don't have to look like back in the 1500s or something. So again, to the glow of these figures, the one with the bust down, her wings are glowing. And you can see that because her wings are behind this green figure, but they still are they have light. So it's not like it's just a reflection of this little being, but she has her own light that is coming out. And as you look at each one of them, it's like, do they all have light coming out of them? So when I got to that conclusion, I was like, well, maybe this figure is getting like, it's like a rebirth. Maybe this figure has to evolve to become one of these beings, and they're kind of like watching her and guiding her and protecting her to help her make the transition a little bit more easily, because they also looking down at her like, ooh, baby, I know how you feeling. Like, it's not easy. Like, I'm so sorry you're going through this, but you about to be like me. It's kind of like that. And we even have other figures that aren't even looking at the being, but they're kind of like have a swivel head to see what else is going on. And as I kept looking at this painting, I liked how the background or the surrounding was dark and muddy and had this very like gray tone, but then the use of color really livened up where the figures are. And the use of color again and the use of brush mark, it's just nice to the eye. Like, it's just nice to look at. Like, I just liked looking at it. Sometimes you don't need arty words to like looking at something. Just remember that. And again, this artist does like not patterns, but is it patterns? But when they like create these furs for the characters, it's this repeating like stroke or this repeating shape. And I feel that repetition almost helps in this painting, it's right in the middle, so it kind of helps your eyes go there, and it causes movement, and we still glide into the character, because as you can see, the little new being, the naked being, the nude being, it has a similar color to the figure in the middle. The legs are that pinkish purple, and the figure in the middle is that same thing. So it's almost like the little strokes are pointing our attention to that figure with movement. And that's the thing about painting. Once you like start doing your thing and you start like knowing what you're doing a little bit, it's little details like that have directional movement, and you kind of control how the viewer is looking at your work, because you're not gonna know that just looking at it. It's like, oh, nice. You're not realizing that it's having directional force with those little like shapes that are moving your eye towards that figure that's curled up. So that's some cool stuff that's a part of the art language. Like, yeah, that's a part of the art language. The one thing I will say about going to school is it learned me to see like that. So when I'm like thinking about work and critiquing it, knowing those different terms could help put a handle on what another artist doing and what you're doing. Because whether or not I knew art terms or not, this artist still was gonna do that, and I could have still thought like, oh, that's cool. But since I have art terms to attach to it, now I can more better, yes, I know I said more better, articulate that to someone else I'm communicating with. It's like, yeah, did you notice how she used that to like make her eye go over here? And that's just being able to communicate your own ideas about what you're making and to talk to somebody else about what they're creating. And it just helps, having similar language kind of help you understand what's going on a little bit better. So being in school kind of helped teach me some of that stuff. But yeah, so I think all these figures are like her guardian angels, and they're just sitting there with her while she going through the transition. Maybe she just started glowing, or maybe she about to grow some wings too. But that's what I was getting from this piece, and I thought it was pretty cool. Cause to be honest, these little figures cool, but they look like they could be scary if you like don't know what's going on. And almost as I'm looking at it, is this figure looking at the figure? Is that like her looking at herself? I don't know. I haven't never seen. I don't know. I don't know if that's accurate. We might go scratch that. But yeah, I do like the differing like contrast, the very dark muddy uses of color, and then because that only highlights the glowy parts and make us appreciate it that much more. That's what's good about having contrast and things that are different in your painting, because it makes us appreciate what's there. If everything the same, then we just like, okay, that's cool. But when you have little parts that's different, then you're like, ooh, it low-key make you appreciate it a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about this show in a very relaxed way because I want to talk about it. Like I said, I wanted to talk about it at the museum, but I didn't want to just be sitting on my tripod and like, okay, guys, here's this painting and these are my thoughts on it. Because like I said, other people in there trying to view art too. That's kind of like, I ain't about to be doing all that. But I did take my little phone. I did my recording, but you can't barely hear me. I'm just like, bruh, I feel awkward. So, yeah, that's my thoughts about the show. If you in Dallas, Texas, I don't know if I will post this and if I will, how long it's going to take, because this show might very well be down by then. But if you do get the chance to see this artist works in person, I'll say go see it, because I just like the use of color. I like trying to find a narrative within the pieces, and I feel like it'll be worth the trip to go wherever this artist is showing work, if it's local to you. Like I said, this artist from New York, but this work came to Dallas, and I'm glad I got to see it before it went down. I don't know how long it's gonna be up, but go see art in person. You can't appreciate it from your phone, from your laptop, whatever you view from the TV. You have to see it in person, because the size, the scale shifts impacts how you interact with the art. Because like I said, the Guardians, that's about to hit different. The Guardian is going to hit different on this. You can't even see it. The Guardian about to hit different on your screen than it's going to hit if you walk up to it and be like, oh, this is intimidating. You can't really get that intimidation factor if you're not in front of the work. So if you have any type of interest in art, go to the museum and have a little bit of confidence when you're viewing something. You can see something that's going on. You might not understand it right off the bat, especially if it's something that's not focused on a figure, a person, or like an object. It might be a little bit harder to grasp just because you might not have the language for it just yet. But you can still see what's going on. You can see, I like that color. I don't like that color. I like the color, but I don't like whatever material they're using. I like the material, but I wish it was a little bit smaller so I could walk up a little bit closer to it. You could kind of, when you start looking at it like that, you make it a little bit more accessible for yourself. So, them's my thoughts. Thanks for watching.